Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here I will explain about the ajar, golf balls, pebbles, sand and coffee. This story has been shared by many over the years, but its message never fades. I still find it to be both inspiration and a gentle but bold reminder to take a step away from the distraction of modern life and to get things back into the proper perspective. Sometimes life can feel like a tornado in amusement park. I think we all live that analogy from time to time. Where 24 hours in a day is not enough for everything you need to accomplish with kids, responsibilities, deadlines, and when it starts to get a little too crazy, I remember this simple yet profound story of keeping the important things first and to not sweat the small stuff. A professor stood before his philosophy class had some items in front of him. When the class began, he silently picked up every large and empty jar and proceeded to fill it with gold balls. He then asked the student if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor picked up a bucket of pebbles and carefully poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The student responded with an enormous yes. The professor then reached under the table and refilled 2 cups of coffee, which he then poured into the jar, effectively filling the empty space between the sand the student looked. "Now," said the professor as the laughter subsided, "I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The gold balls are the important things: your family, your children, your health, your friends, and your favorite patients. And if everything else was lost and only the remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, and your car. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first," he continued, "there is no room for the gold or pebbles. The same is true for your life. If you spend all your time and energy and the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children. Take time to get medical care goods. Take your spouse off to the dinner. Play another 60, 11:60. There will always be time to clean the house and fix the disposal. Take care of the golf balls first. The things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rice is just sand. One of the stand raised her hand and asked what the coffee represents. The professor smiled. I am glad you asked. It just goes to show you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of cups of coffee with a friend. Thank you everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.